and welcome back to the Rave Social Podcast. Today we have a special guest, Sam, and we're going to be talking about how your environment is part of your business strategy. And just to tell you a little bit about Sam, she's incredible.
Oh my gosh.
And give you a little background on who she is and why she's here and why we're recording this. So Sam has a background in psychology, human development, and family studies. She brings more than just design expertise to her clients. She also brings deep insight on how people truly live. Originally from Chicago and now based in Utah, Sam has spent over a decade blending beauty with function as an interior designer and professional organizer. Slay! Her work is rooted in empathy and intentionality. Sam believes a well-designed home doesn't just look good, it nurtures your well-being. Every space she creates is tailored to the emotional, practical, and aesthetic needs of the people who live there. The moment a client sees their transformed home, calm, elevated, and completely them is what drives her every day. So Sam's an interior designer, if you didn't gather that already. Professional organizer. She's incredible. Literally, I'm going to link her Instagram, of course, but like you guys do need to follow it because holy shit, it's so good. And yeah, we're just so excited to have her on.
Yay! Woo!
Let's do this thing.
Yeah.
I love that. I actually have a question for you before we jump into like the topic. How did you get into interior design?
Yeah, that's like such a great question because it's not been like a linear path. And so basically I think the first thing to say is growing up, I very much one was always creative, but then also like my mom, always liked design. She worked for like an interior designer when I was growing up, and like we always had like a designed home. So that was like a big thing that I grew up in. Also, like my family built a house when I was like in first grade, and like I sat down with like our designer at the time and like picked everything for the room as like a 5 or 6 year old. So always been like interested in it in some level, have always loved spaces, have always loved like a good hotel or a cute restaurant, like all of that.
Yeah.
But also have always been really creative. So growing up, I danced, which like essentially my dream was to be a dance therapist. So the reason that's important is I kind of always wanted to blend the world of like creativity and helping people.
Yeah.
And then I actually ended up going to college for dance, which is how I ended up in Utah. I was like a modern dance major at the U. And you know, as that fizzled out and I was like, okay, this like really isn't going to work, whatever, what do I do? I just switched to therapy. But I think in my mind, I was like, I'm always going to figure out how, like, I still wanted to blend the creativity with helping people. I just didn't know how I was going to do that. Like I knew I would never be like just a therapist in an office, which there's nothing wrong with that. I'm crazy and that's not like what I envisioned in terms of being a therapist. So I think then I just like started being really passionate in spaces and was always like pinning stuff. And, you know, I think before, like I always like had my like apartment or room like designed before some of my friends were like, you know, nothing looked bad, but it was just like, here's IKEA, like whatever. I always was like, I'm going to go to Nordstrom and like buy bedding. And like when I'm like 20 years old, like why? I don't know. Anyway, so what I started learning actually is that the way my brain like worked, like the same brain that like could choreograph dances or remember dances in my head actually was the same like brain to create a space or design a space.
Yeah.
And then I also always loved organizing. I would like do it for friends or do it like, I don't know, just was always organizing things or buying bins or going to the Container Store. So I think over time, I just was like, I think I should do this. And like essentially just started organizing one day. And then the last part of the story of how I got into design was I started organizing, and I was in these like $10 million homes where like obviously
Oh my God.
people paid for a designer or whatever, but like the kitchens and the bathrooms and like the cabinetry, like none of it was like right. Like sometimes it was, but most of the time I was like, how did this happen? How did someone build this house? And like the kitchen doesn't work, or the pantry isn't like wide enough, or like none of it makes sense and it wasn't designed correctly. So I started getting really passionate about like that and was like, I think I can fix this problem.
Like you're struggling to organize because like it's not organizable because like it's not laid out properly. Yeah.
So, and I was like, how, like people are like, you know, I feel like most of the homes I was in were like 3 million to like 10 million, you know, like, like you would hope that you could put stuff away. And so I just was like, there's an issue here. And of course, there are amazing designers and amazing architects that do think about that stuff. But I just, it wasn't across the board. And I just found that concerning. So then I started, I don't know, I just started learning how like kitchens got designed. Like, I don't know. I just, I'm the type of person that when I want to figure something out, I figure it out. So I basically just started figuring it out. And here we are like 7 years later.
Oh my God. I love that. Thank you for sharing that story with us. And it's funny. Like I am literally not an interior designer. I don't understand. Like I find the boards on Pinterest and I'm like, like that's what I want. And then I'm like, why didn't it just like happen? Like, why isn't that what's happening in my space? Like, I'm so confused. But I had a condo years ago that I remodeled, and when I was doing the kitchen, because the kitchen was, the building was like a mid-century building, which like I'm obsessed with mid-century. Yeah. But the kitchen was a galley kitchen. It was laid out in the most horrific way. So we had lived in it. We had dealt with this horribly laid out kitchen and just been like, what in the hell? Yeah. So when I redid the kitchen, I was like, like not gonna happen. And I just remember like, what do we do? Like, when we get into the fridge, like what's the next step? Okay, we need the pots to be here. We need the sink to be here. Like, so that we're not like running around the kitchen like crazy people constantly. Holy shit, I loved that kitchen when I was done with it. I was like, everything is beautiful. Everything is easy. The garbage pulls out. Like, all of the Wi-Fi shit is hidden in there.
And see, you thought it, like, you're not even an interior designer, and you even said, like, that's not your personal strong suit, and you were thinking about that stuff. So I'm like, how did these multi-million-dollar homes get built? And, like, that wasn't thought about. Like I'm like,
who's in charge here?
Who's in charge here?
So my question for you is like, you've obviously been in a lot of homes. I'm sure a variety too of like, you were just talking about like the more expensive ones, but I'm sure you've been in other types of homes. Yeah. What does the impact of like their design have on the energy of the home? Do you notice it when you go in there?
Oh yeah.
What is the vibe?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think, yes, I've been in like all these expensive homes, but also I would say like, you know, most of our clients are more like, you know, they're well off. They have like made something of themselves. But, you know, like maybe they bought their house for, you know, they made a good investment. They bought their house for like 600 to 800, or or like more than that, but there's money to put into it, right?
Yeah.
But you're often getting, we're starting with a space that's very basic.
Yeah.
But we want to up level the home. And so my whole thing from the get-go has never been like, I'm not doing cookie cutter. I rarely do white cabinets.
No more white cabinets, please.
No more white cabinets. Or if like there are white cabinets, it's like intentional. Like there is one house where I did it where it's beautiful, but like it wasn't just an afterthought, if that makes sense. So you know, and like my whole thing really is bringing someone's personality to life in their home. And so I think, well, one, when you go at it from that perspective, it does change the energy of the home because their energy is like part of the space. But also, it's crazy what like a well-designed space can do. I mean, I think it can literally change everything. I think it can change mood. I think it can change relationships. I think it can change how kids behave. Like all clients that with kids are like, but my kids are going to ruin everything. And I'm like, honestly, of course, kids ruin stuff. There's wear and tear quicker. Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong. But honestly, like when I go back to my clients' homes with kids that were worried about that, the wear and tear is never as much as they thought it was going to be, because when the entire home feels like a well thought out space, like kids honestly feel that and respect it more. Of course, there's caveats to that. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm
obviously
not speaking for every
nuance.
child. But like, it is pretty crazy. Like, I'm like, no, it like can change the kid's behavior. I think, you know, it can just change everything. And I have had clients like tell me like you changed our life, which sounds very dramatic, but how much time do we spend in our home? So I do think it's
so much
very
time.
Important. Yeah.
It's just so important. And like, I notice it in my life, like when my house is dirty, when it's not like, when things are out, like you should see my office right now, things are out. And I'm like, the energy is not as good as when it's like tidy. And like, I think there's something to be said too about like, when things have a place and are well thought out as far as design, it makes your life easier because you're not searching for things. You're not like, where the hell did I put that? Or like, where is this? And oh my God, like, you don't have that in your life because like everything is in its right spot and the spot that it's in makes sense. I feel like,
No, and like a big part of that too is that the reset time goes down. So when you spend the time to organize it and create a system, and then like I also like when the system's aesthetically pleasing, right? But your time to clean your home, like I feel like Colby, who I work with, that's my husband. When Colby and I like reset the house, like we either do it like once or twice a week, but like honestly, we don't spend more than like 2 hours a week on it. Like it's just, it like kind of is a well-run machine. And I wouldn't even say everything's in tip-top shape right now. Like we have some personal decluttering to do. We have that, but because the system is there, like it is easier to maintain. So
how do you feel like that connects into people's businesses? And like maybe we can specifically talk about like intentional office space in homes. Like what is the impact on that in people's lives and businesses?
Yeah, for sure. So I think as entrepreneurs, we're crazy. I'm like, but like, honestly, like, I think, you know, if you have like money to spend, like a lot of entrepreneurs, like the first thing they spend money on is not their space, is not their office. They're like, that doesn't matter. Like, which, you know, I get it. We want to invest in the business. And like that is important to grow. Like I fully believe that. But I will say, like just from personal experience, because we actually had an office downtown, and then last year we made the decision to move our office to North Salt Lake because we live in Bountiful, and like kind of downsize our like actual business office. But with that, like our new space doesn't have a space for Colby and I to work. And so, well, one, we did invest in that space, you know, like we were trying to downsize, but I really knew that we needed a complete space for our employees to work in. That felt inspiring. That felt good. Like, well, we work for a design company, so it also matters for clients coming in. But like, first and foremost, I think it matters for the people that work for us. And you know, it's not perfect. It never is. But I think that if you do have employees, like that's important for them to have a space that feels, I think, on brand. I think that carrying your brand into your space and even where your employees work is really important. I've seen a lot of situations where maybe like the front looks that way, but then the employees are kind of an afterthought. And I think that's important as well. But then also, like, me and my husband didn't have a space to work. And finally we got to the point where I was like, okay, like we need to, and it was about a year ago that I was like, I need a real office space in our house. We had had one. And this room that I'm in now kind of was my husband's like man cave. And he was like, okay.
Not anymore.
Yeah. He's like, okay, I'll give up the man cave. Like, let's do it. And honestly, it's like made a world of difference. And like, you know, it's not 100% done the way I want it, but like even just, you know, like having the little shelves done, or, you know, and having our like organizational system and like it feeling like an actual space that I can work in, has just changed me. So I think it's just important as entrepreneurs that like, even if it's just a corner in a room, you know, the room should feel good. Like, even if, you know, some of us have to like put an office in a guest room or whatever, but it should feel like a space that is inspiring to you if you're trying to grow or even just maintain a business.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that your environment does just like, it impacts how you feel. It impacts how productive you are. Like my husband and I, before we were married, we lived in a townhome, and there was no office for me. Like it was 2-bedroom. He had a studio. We had our bedroom, and my office was in the kitchen. And you know, things were neat and tidy, but it felt like I couldn't stop working because it was in the kitchen and the living room, like it was just an open concept, like kitchen, living room. And then I had my desk in there. And it was like, I couldn't separate business from my life. And if I forgot to turn the notifications off on my laptop, we'd be watching a movie and then that would go off. And then I'd be like, oh my God, back to work mode. Like it just was affecting my life. And that was like one of the biggest reasons we moved, just because I was like, I need a space that like I can close the door and like not look at it and just be done working. And it really did change. Like it changed a lot for me. It changed how I showed up for work every day, and just made me feel more like I had on hours and off hours instead of just like being plugged in all the time, which is already a struggle for someone who works in social media.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's so important, and it's very, very real. And like, I get that everyone has a different situation, but I also have always believed as a business owner that if you're like really aligned and you know what you need, like, and it's not just like a want, like truly, like, you know, your business has like proven a proven like track record. If you were like just starting out and you like didn't even have a client and you're like, I need to move so I can have an office for my business that I don't have clients for, like, okay, I think we should like talk about that.
Yeah.
But like 100%. If you are on the path and like you have goals and an investment of some kind is going to help you like reach those goals, and it's in line with like everything else, I like really believe that it can move the needle. But as business owners, it's like hard because I've certainly thought something was a good idea and that didn't pan out. So I think that is, so it's interesting because it's like the more aligned, the better decisions. But also I think part of that is creating the space for alignment. So
100%, like it's both ways.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I feel like it's, I mean, my office currently, like it's still not it's not awesome. It's not like my dream office or anything. We'll talk about that. No. Yeah. Well, I'm like, we can talk about that later. I'm like, it is what it is, but like we're still renting and like I'm probably not going to put that like bigger investment in until like I own the space or I know I'm going to be there for 5 years because of that reason. It's like, I want it to be like a good investment and this is working for now. It's like, it's temporary. It's good enough. I have my cool little podcast area. Like I have my desk. We're good. Even though, like there's bigger dreams for it. And it's like at one point what I could afford was the small townhome. And even like I said, when that was the situation that I had, like I still had a desk. I still had a chair, my laptop, my whole setup that was like, that was the best that I could do at that time. That was like in alignment with where I was at. You know?
Totally. And that's still important because you will see people that are like, I don't even have they're just like working all over. And even like, I sometimes do that. Like I actually am like a weirdo and like sometimes like to work in bed or sometimes like to work on the couch. But honestly, like, you know, I like being mobile, but also like having the dedicated space or the place to then put things away. Cause that's also that dedicated space creates a system. So I think it just, you can meet it where you're at the time. But I do think I see a lot of people, not just even in an office way, like in a bigger way too, be like, well, you know, I'm just staying here for like, we're renting. So I don't want to like buy anything. Like, I don't care about buying anything. And I'm like, I tell people all the time, I'm like, okay, I know you're saving up for a house, but hear me out. You're going to buy that house in a year or two, and you're going to spend all your money on that house. And then you're going to have an entire house that you need to fill. And you're not, whether the budget's $5K, $10K, $50K, whatever it is, you're not spending the down payment and the moving and everything and then buying all new furniture all at once. Like, that's insane. I always tell people most furniture works in all spaces.
And like you can freaking command whatever. Like these are just up here with like the, I don't know, like the Velcro things. Cause I'm like, I'm still putting like, I think people get afraid to like put things on the wall, like when they're renting for some reason. Like, but it's like,
I've never been that way.
Actually, like me either. I'm like, I move like before my shit is like unloaded. I'm like, what's going on the walls? Like, this needs to be a home. The different, like when you actually create spaces and make them intentional, like it makes a huge difference. And like, and you can go to IKEA or even like thrifting or Facebook Marketplace is Facebook Marketplace is the shit.
It's so good.
I miss it when it was like low key new. Like I probably maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I worked an office job and like low key would always be on Facebook Marketplace. And it was like before people knew. It's before like the new wave of mid-century stuff came out, like the repop stuff that's like super low quality. So people would be listing like vintage, mid-century, modern dressers for like $100. I'm like, haha, you don't know what you have, but I do.
Literally. No.
It was
You're
the
so
time.
right. Yeah. I still have a couple of things from that time. We have like a cool coffee table and like a credenza, like just like, but yeah, I miss it too. But like I do think, you know, when you're looking for something specific, like you can usually find it on there within like a week's time. And, you know, some people are going to be into that. Some people are going to be like, I'm fine doing that, going to pick it up, whatever. And other people are like, no, I'm going to buy from Target, which like, I don't care what you do, but you have to do what works for you. But I think creating the space is really, it really can shift everything. And as business owners, like I do think the office is important, but I also think like your space that you're spending in your off hours is just as important as well, because that's going to like rejuvenate you and like creatively recharge you.
I love that perspective. I'm like way dialed in on the office right now, but it's true. Like your office could be like the coolest thing ever, but like you're still going to want to get away from it and have a normal life. So like everything else is really valuable too. Okay. One question I have, this is kind of like taking us on a different road.
No, whatever you want. Yeah.
I feel like there's an uptick in awareness of like ADHD tendencies, especially in entrepreneurs. Like I think that's become more of like people are more aware of it. How do you feel like having good spaces can support people that might be struggling with things like that so that they can stay focused and like not get distracted and do what they need to do?
Yes, that is a great question and I love it. Yeah. I mean, I think too, like, we're more aware, but I also feel like probably, I mean, wait, how old are you?
I'm 27.
Okay. So I feel like I'm about to turn 34. So I feel like probably 35 and younger, we were raised. So like I was probably like one of the first age group to like get a phone, you know, in like middle school or whatever, you know, like, but older than me, like they didn't have till, like, they didn't have that. So, basically I think we were raised in a way that our brains, like self-inflicted, not on purpose, ADHD, right? Like some people actually have it. And then I think it's like kind of all of us. So I think that this is really important for pretty much everyone because our brains are so much more on and like we have so much more to worry about. So I think, there's so many layers to this, but I think the first thing is on that front is the organization. And I get that it's really hard when you have ADHD to create those systems. But I think where I see the biggest miss happen is like someone, I'm trying to think of like a good example, but like basically people will just try to organize their whole house like at once. Like it's like, I don't know, something maybe with like shoes where they're like in your closet and in your entryway and like this. And really the best way to organize and actually design, this is like kind of my thing, is one space at a time. Which can feel a little hard, right? It's like you're organizing the entryway, but you look ahead and you're like, everything else is a mess. But truly, if whoever is listening to this, if I can teach you one single thing, one space at a time, and that goes for design and organization. And it's hard, but over time, it helps with the ADHD because you start to have systems in every place. And then you eventually get to a point where everything kind of feels more settled. And there's all these systems, like I was saying, like 20 minutes ago, that the reset takes an hour, not 6.
Yeah. I hate a freaking reset when it takes too long. I'm just laughing.
Well, you just stop.
You're just like, I can't do this anymore.
You just stop and give up, and then you're like, okay, shove it all back in a closet, and then the problem almost becomes worse. So,
oh yeah, we're facing this problem right now. That's why it's making me laugh. Is because like it's funny, like what you're saying about systems, because my office is also my closet because of the house that we live in. There's no closet space, so I have a wardrobe in my office that has my clothes, but then I never get ready and I never change in here. So then half of my clothes end up in my bedroom, and then the laundry is downstairs. So I'm like,
oh my gosh.
Like, I don't have a system. And it's funny because my husband's always, I'll be like, okay, we need to like, why do all the clothes end up like on top of this dresser in our room? And he'll just be like, because we don't have a system. And I'm always like, what is this about a system? But now I see it. I'm like, I see. We don't have a system.
You don't have a system. Which, like, listen, everyone's like, it's funny because almost everyone that calls me is like, this house doesn't have enough storage, or they're complaining about it. And I'm like, not every house actually, it's like actually typically not a storage problem. It's that we all live differently. And houses are kind of like made like one way. But you have to figure out like your system within the space. So like as an example, you know, most people have tall laundry baskets. I was like, I don't know. Everything always like ends up at the bottom. Like, I don't know. And then you can't use these baskets to like fold clothes, whatever. So in my closet, I have a whole system, but like I have like 4 or 5 shelves, and then I have hampers that are like wide, like, you know, they're like a bigger basket. And then the way I have it is I have like whites, colors, blacks, dry cleaning, and then a basket on the floor for put away. I just have a put away basket for because I do like when I'm getting dressed, I like try on different things or like whatever. I'm not like, So I literally have a basket for put away. And sometimes my closet too ends up in a tornado. But what I'm able to do is I'm able to like put all the laundry in the baskets. You know, if something needs dry cleaning, put it there, and then put it in the put away basket. So like right now my put away basket's full because I didn't have time to like go hang everything up. But there's not the tornado.
It's like an organized, it's like a strategic mess.
Yes, no, for sure. But that's so much of what I think organization is. Or like one of the things we do for a lot of clients is, you know, now everyone like orders 100 things on Amazon, and like, you know, there's always returns, and then people like lose money because they don't do the returns. Like that's like a chronic problem I see a lot too. And so for a lot of clients, we've created a system where there's like a returns basket or an exchange basket or a to-do basket. And so like, I think, you know, what I see people do, or what happens is I see people just like get frustrated, like, why do I always have these returns, or like, why am I always like buying stuff, or like they get like frustrated at themselves. And I'm like, if you have something you need to change about yourself, like that's fine, but also realistically, like, is this how you're gonna live? And like, if it is, like, let's like create a system for it, you know? And it's okay.
Because that's like, it's probably not going to go anywhere, like Amazon and ordering and having returns and all of that. I love that. I want to ask you if you have more examples of like main problems you see people have.
Yeah.
But it's also making me laugh. Like you just talking and I'm just like, like thinking about how I just like don't know where my mail is. Like
you're like, I didn't know I was having you on here today to tell me all the problems in my life.
I'm looking at my desk going, yep, there's no systems over there. Like you can just tell if you take a peek. But what do you feel like what do you feel like some system problems like that, like returns, laundry, stuff like that? Like are there any that people have in offices in particular?
That's such a good question. Offices. I mean, yeah, like honestly, like paperwork. Paperwork's a big one. And I will say the system for paperwork hasn't changed in many years. There's like really two options. And so one option is you digitize and you get a scanner and you scan everything and you create a Google Drive or whatever. And that's one system. And then another system is you have a filing cabinet, which has been a system for, around for many years. But I think paperwork is hard. It's actually, I would say, one of the kind of like things that is very tedious. Like I don't have a solution to it being tedious.
Yeah, like you kind of just have to sort it. Like somebody has to.
Yeah, somebody has to. But in that regard, that's where I vote to make the system fun. So I do feel like there's like a lot of like file, like people can get like more like fun file folders or or what I actually, a part of the system I have is I think like, I forget the exact colors, but like pink is personal or white is business and like green is like, so I have different file folders for different like topics. But I think, but I think part of that is if you create a dedicated office space that feels good and then you start with that, then that almost motivates you to I guess keep it up. And then creating that system. I also will say that I think a big problem now is that people are like, we live in a digital world. We don't need paper. And like, there are people that live that way. I would say most people don't live that way.
I'm like, you still have paper. Like, have you ever done taxes? You still get papers.
Yeah, exactly. And well, it's like and like receipts, like, I mean, you can digitize so much, but there's still the paper to digitize. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I think, so I guess the point of that is that people probably like plan their office and like they don't think about a filing cabinet or they're like, I don't need that, or they don't actually like think, they're like, we don't need any storage on the desk for paper, and then it piles up. So I guess like that's the biggest thing is like, I think about what you're actually gonna have and use, like it's because when you avoid it, you're like, I'm just not gonna think about that. Like, it does pile up and then it creates a problem and then you feel overwhelmed by that problem. So the dedicated space that you invested your time and money into, like, all of a sudden is overwhelming too.
And like, it's a stressor instead of like, it could be solving your stress, but it's adding to it.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. Okay. What do you feel like is the minimum effective dose? What I mean by that is like, if somebody has a limited budget, what changes, like what changes would you have them start with that give them the biggest impact?
Whew, okay. That's a good question. So it's not actually like the same space for everyone. I think it really is what's that space that gives you frustration daily. And then there is, I think, no matter your budget, I think that there's systems you can create. Like, honestly, like the dollar store has like bins and baskets and things. Like, yeah, they're not my favorite. They're not what I necessarily use for my clients, but they'll get the job done.
Yeah.
And so but the two areas, or I guess the three areas that I see people stresses people out the most is office, kitchen, closet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That tracks. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, maybe like a working girl who like gets dressed every day, like the closet, like that might be like their space because they're like waking up to that every day.
Yeah.
Or for a lot of moms, I feel like it is the kitchen because they're starting their day in the kitchen and like making breakfast for their kids and so like it's typically, I feel like the space where you start and end your day that like feels the most overwhelming. And again, I'm gonna like drive it home one space at a time. It's okay if everything feels overwhelming and then you don't know where to start. But really, I always just like to like sit and think, okay, what space really is going to move the needle? And then that motivates you to keep going.
Yeah. 100% it does. I'm motivated right now. I'm like, gonna clear my schedule for this weekend. I'm like, I got some shit
I
to
will
do.
not be leaving the house.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like I have 2 more questions for you. Let's see. Okay. The first one is, if somebody is looking, because a lot of the people that listen to this podcast maybe are probably looking to buy a home within the next couple of years. For people who are looking to buy a home, maybe it's their first home, whatever. Maybe they don't have the budget for like hiring out an interior designer.
Yeah.
What elements should they be looking for to see if it's like a good fit for their lifestyle and their business and the way they go about things? Do you have any tips?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a great question. I mean, this is like getting, I think, more into like mindset and stuff, but I am a huge, so I think kind of going back to what I was saying about dance and choreography in my head and then choreographing spaces in my head, I think like I've always pictured things in my head and like played it out and like plan the future in my head. And it's funny because I'm like, oh, was I just like manifesting my whole life?
You're clairvoyant. I'm afraid to tell you, but you're clairvoyant.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a little bit, but we can get into that later. But truly, I do believe in like sitting down and designing your life. And so really thinking about like, okay, what does that look like? And kind of if you're in your home and you're having like the perfect day or the perfect night, like what does that really involve? Is that working in your home? Is that hosting people for parties? Like, is that you are going to run your business out of your home and there would be employees, so you need a space like that? Like, I think a lot of people get caught up on like the closets. Is there a pantry? And like, I actually think you can get really creative. In this home is like not a small house. It's like, I don't even know, like 3,000 square feet or something. And we still don't have a pantry. And I think people probably walked through this home when it was for sale and were like, doesn't have a pantry. Well, I got like cabinets and put them in our dining room and created a pantry. Yeah. And I also did that when we lived in Sugar House. I had like a bookshelf in the dining room and like created a pantry. So I think thinking more about how you live in the space, because I think most storage solutions and like things you need can be created.
Yeah, I love that perspective because I think especially like, I mean, we obviously live in Salt Lake City, Utah, where like most of the homes are older
Yeah,
homes. And
for sure.
apparently they wore the same thing every day. Apparently. And apparently they didn't need a freaking pantry because we don't have those and we don't have closets. Literally. But I love you saying storage is something that you can find a solution for. It's more important that the home, the area, the space, whatever, supports your the way you want to live your life, because you can add a pantry, you can add a closet or a dresser or whatever.
Yeah.
I love that.
For sure.
Yeah. So good. Thank you so much. Okay, in closing, I want to ask if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be? This could be business, personal, whatever.
That's such a good question. Probably something like your work isn't everything. It's a part of life, but I think having a full life in all areas, and really having joy, in everything you do. And yeah, I think in terms of spaces, having joy in your, if you can have joy in your spaces and that feels calming and peaceful, then that's success.
Yes, I love that so much.
Yeah.
I feel I think you're obviously a high achiever. I'm a high achiever. The people listening to this podcast are high achievers. It can feel okay, when I have this many clients, when I have this income, when I have this house, when I have whatever, that's when I can be free and happy and whatever. But it's what is life if you're constantly doing that? The joy can happen right now.
Yeah, no, 120 million%. Yeah, when we go through life thinking when I have X, I will be, that often doesn't work. We never get to that point and have that joy. So I think just finding joy in the everyday and having fun and really thinking about what is going to bring kind of happiness and success to all areas of your life. And I like the word joy over happiness, really, because I think it's really more about that. And it ends up bringing a more fuller life, and I think in the end having more sustainable success.
100%, because you're gonna get happy or maybe feel a little joy when you sign a client, but how long does that last? 5 minutes?
Exactly.
It's woohoo, holy shit, I have all this work to do. And it's about carrying that thread of joy and happiness and bliss through all the moments. I love that so much.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your knowledge with us. We'll link all your stuff. And thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Okay. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Okay. Bye.